Ooh! Did I scare you? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories, but with a twist. Today is a great day of Halloween, and what else is better than going through the most creepiest, scariest RPG horror stories of all time? In my story selection for today, we have the very tippy top of the RPG horror stories, and we're gonna go ahead and dive into them. Some of these posts look very old, ancient in fact, but I've never seen them, and it sounds like a lot of fun checking them out. This video might be a little longer, but today is a very special day, which means we need an extra special video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the first top post of RPG horror stories for today. Not mine, but found on Twitter. My friend keeps trying to play D&D, but his DM makes him start at level 1, despite the group being way ahead of that, and literally rolls his stats, so every session he starts a new character with a random stat of like 4 and simply dies. That's the #1 post, by the way. That sounds horrible. I feel like having a stat of less than 8 would just be such a debuff to anything you want to try to do. Imagine your con being 4, you'd have like negative health at this point, and you just have like no health. Of course you would just die. And if the rest of the party is like level 5 and above and you start at level 1, yeah, nightmare. Anyway, let's keep going. But why? So I'm playing an evil character who's just aligned himself with a BBEG. I know in about 2 sessions I have to fight the party. I'm torn between going all out and trying to kick their asses, knowing with half decent rolls I can kill a couple of characters in a single turn, and holding back. I know most of them don't have a lot of experience with the game, but we have been playing this campaign since October, and the DM has warned them that the last 2 fights the training wheels would be off. Have you all ever been in a situation like this? How'd it go? If your party's fairly new to D&D, it just sounds like you would kinda ruin the fun for them while building up your fun. PvP in D&D is not gonna go well. Somebody's gonna get hurt and actually have feelings hurt, and overall it's gonna ruin their experience, especially with the new players. Come on. It just sounds like you're looking for a way to just like clobber the newbies just for the sake of clobbering the newbies. Sometimes the horror stories don't require words. Discord 20 minutes after the game is scheduled to start. GM in voice chat. I'm glad I never have to experience something like this. Usually my players are there before me, but yeah. Oh, that's rough. Family D&D night ends in shambles. My stepdad spends about a week making this world, only for it to be ruined by the murder hobos, which is my brother and my, honestly didn't seem interested, mom. He later sent me this heartbreaking message. Well, that's probably my last venture into D&D. I worked really hard to make it fun for everyone, and when everyone leaves the table mad, upset, and irritated, it hurts. I feel like I just spent a lot of time to ruin everyone's day. It's not your fault, Dad. I enjoyed the world building you did. If bro was a murder hobo, then I wouldn't leave upset at least. If it weren't for the party, I would come for the next session. It sounds like you and your stepdad need to like form your own group without the rest of the family. We've had stories of mom being like horny bards and stuff. Actually, we had a lot of stories of moms being horny bards. But I never murder hobo. This is the first time for me. This is bull crap. I'm playing a female character. The DM had an NPC hit on me. I made it clear that my character was not interested on multiple occasions. I missed a session and was told my character slept with that NPC and will have to make a check to see if she's pregnant. I am furious. Whoa, Jesus Christ. I asked if he was serious and he said yes. I told him that it was wrong to do that to someone's character. He said something about alcohol being involved and left. I'm planning to quit the campaign. What would you do? Yeah, dude, I'd piece the fuck out. The DM sounds really weird. Jesus Christ. Leave people's characters alone. I don't mean to laugh. It's just, these posts are so unhinged and have such chaos energy. It's kind of funny. Our party dodged a bullet today. It became from the session. It was one video. I would have removed it fast. We discussed that. No one was comfortable with that type of humor. You agreed to not use that humor. You posted that humor. You get kicked. Oh, I forgot that would have counted as racist humor. It was literally the KKK killing black. Who is posting this kind of stuff? Who the fuck is posting this unironically in fucking general chat on the Discord? Jesus Christ. It's horrible, but like, it's so fucking out of nowhere. It's so out of pocket. I can't help but laugh. Man joins D&D server to play the victim. Question about the server. 1. Are people easily offended here? 2. Do DMs and mods ban people for the simplest disagreement? Or is discussion and discourse allowed? 3. Are the mods here abusive to players? 4. If political discussion is allowed, what kind of politics are allowed to be discussed? 5. Is there any reason at all that I should be concerned that people here act with hostility to disagreement? Or is that a mandate that all people must be agreed with all times? 6. Are conservatives welcome or forbidden? Are liberals welcome or forbidden? 7 is compelled speech such as pronouns required to enforce. 7, again, are all rules applied equally across the border, or are some animals more equal than other animals? 8, hypothetically, if I drew a picture of Trump and used that as a character image for my character, would I be instant banned? 9, is moderation, corruption, and abuse a thing here? This is a can of worms. Quoting the rules, we do not enforce pronouns use and people make mistakes. As long as it is not meant to be offensive by using incorrect pronouns, it's okay to make mistakes. Seem to violate rule 1.8. That falls under compelled speech and is by nature political. As I said, we do not compel speech. As long as it's not meant to be offensive by using incorrect pronouns, it's okay to make mistakes. So I can refuse to use a pronoun then? Plenty of people lean towards neutral words such as they. As a member of the LGBT plus community myself, I don't use they or expect others to use it, or think it's polite to do so to expect others to use it. I actually think it's immoral and delusional. You might even say it's one step removed from calling oneself Napoleon Bonaparte. So I ask again, is it an enforced issue if I openly refuse to use neutral pronouns? I'd just like to ask real quick, why are you asking these questions? And what are you expecting out of this? I'd like to know if your server is very left-leaning and political dissent to moral people, and do you ban people for disagreements? So to cut through the BS, if you want, I drafted a list of questions that allow me to judge the morality of people quickly. These sentences read like run-on sentences, so I'm gonna read them as big run-on sentences, as much as it hurts my lungs. So why are you openly stating that you believe people who use neutral pronouns are delusional? As well as their intelligence, character, attitudes. Yes, a member of the LGBT plus community compelled is a moral speech, and pronouns can be delusional. Unfortunately, acting in such a way is antagonistic at best. Openly asking, hey, are your mods abusive? Are your players hostile? No self-respecting server is going to answer anything but positively. So all you're doing by asking these questions is displaying an antagonistic behavior. Interesting choice of words. What do you find antagonistic specifically? And the reason I'm asking these questions is often on leftist-leaning environment, disagreements is often met with hostility and instant bans. See Twitter. Should not be using Twitter for reference for anything. Twitter is a chaos platform. Twitter is like the demiplane of chaos that you don't believe in anything. There's lies and chaos and nonsense on Twitter, but sometimes you get some succubi women pictures, and that's a good thing. Are people easily offended, quote unquote? Do DMs or mods ban people for the simplest disagreement, quote unquote? Are the mods here abusive, quote unquote? Is there any reason at all I should be concerned that people here act with hostility to disagreement, quote unquote? Are all the rules applied equally, quote unquote? Is moderation corrupt, quote unquote? We're here to play D&D. We're not here to be politically charged or to verbally harass people. If you plan to do either, you won't find a place here. Actually, any server that has a strong leftist bias tends to ban people for disagreement of any kind. That's an opinion at best. And if a person here answered the DMs and mods are indeed corrupt, would you ban them? Well, it's actually factual. I'm not here to debate your opinionated statements. I've actually asked this list of questions of many servers, for some people just ban you right away. Well, again, it's a factual statement, not opinionated. Could we agree to disagree? Again, see Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Discord, MySpace when it was around. Likely because you're antagonistic. Furthermore, I'm not going to entertain such questions in depth. No, the server is, and I'm sure many will attest to, a D&D server. There's no place for politics, nor should you expect to find any. There's no perceived bias regarding any person. As long as you're respectful and follow the rules, you won't run into problems. No, I'm just curious about the nature of the people on that server. The questions are not in any way antagonistic. Viewed through personal biases, the only time they become controversial, antagonistic, or contentious. But given that you, the head DM, feels that controversial, antagonistic, and contentious tells me everything I need to know about morality of the people here and what kind of echo chamber it is. Good lord, this person just can't take "we're here to play D&D" without reading into the subtext that apparently exists somewhere. We're not going to entertain any further questions regarding the morality of my staff. I've already answered the question. Whether you accept them or not is irrelevant. My last question today I leave is, how many people have you unjustly banned? Good luck finding a server. Found several that are not so easily offended. One last question, how do you sleep at night? And is sociopathic narcissism common to you? It's a learned trait. Did you learn it at a young age, or was it developed later in life? I'm not gonna sit here and entertain your benign insults. Have fun. Farewell, banal sociopath. Banal sociopath. Apparently, if you don't answer this person's questions, you're apparently a sociopath of some kind, and everybody is a sociopath if they disagree with anything that you say. It's a Discord server that just wants to play D&D. Just chill out, relax. We're here to roll funny math rocks, not talk about politics. One sentence horror story in a D&D group finder. Any D&D 5e game through Messenger, I will join. I am never busy. Also, I require being able to use my homebrew items. I require the use of my homebrew items. Okay, yeah, that's definitely a pass for most people, especially with some of the horror stories we've seen regarding homebrew items. Jesus Christ. Not really a specific horror story, but a summary of multiple I've experienced at different subs. You know, people like to brag about how inclusive D&D community is, but pretty much every time I mention wanting to explicitly portray LGBT plus characters as LGBT plus characters in my games, I'm met with, at best, silent downvotes, and at worst, a slew of replies listing reasons why. Me not wanting my characters to live in a closet while I have to live in a closet is somehow ruining D&D. I mean, that was simple. I think you just should play with better people. It genuinely sounds like you need to find better people to play with, the people that don't care, just want to roll funny math rocks. Well, there's this from yesterday. I was just trying to D&D. WTF. You're gonna play with this group, the old timers are going to want to blow a few loads down your throat, my friend. Is that cool? What? Hold on, what? What is the context for that? Is that what I think they mean, or is there a different context for blow low down your throat? By old timers, do they mean like old guys? Jesus Christ. It's like when you combine fucking D&D with a sex club or some shit. Good lord. Oh my god, we actually got like a proper post. Good lord, let's do this. Found this group chat about trying to sleep with me. This might be a little long because of a few things happened during the campaign. First off, for the longest time, I was the only girl in a party of 7. Although this isn't as dramatic or as awful as other stories, it still makes me angry when I think about it. About 3 years ago, I made a post on Instagram offering to DM 5e for anyone that was interested because my previous party had split up after leaving college. I was quickly approached by an old high school friend, Jack, who said he had a group gathered. I was welcome to come and meet everyone and decide if we all got on well. Jack was always very sweet in high school, so I agreed that we all meet at his flat that weekend to play a few non-D&D related games together and get pizza. After a few hours, we started talking about character ideas, rules, etc. I suggest we talk about our boundaries in games so everyone knew what we were getting into. I'm a relaxed DM, and I don't mind if players decided they want to sleep with a barmaid as long as it doesn't mess up the game. The only thing I said I would not do, period, was struggle snuggle. Everything else is at the discretion of everyone. This is important to know. Placing boundaries. Good. I agree. Fast forward to actual playing. I'm not sure if other people have done this before, but I ran the Death House part of Curse of Strahd for about 4 sessions till everyone was comfortable playing together. Then homebrewed a campaign for that. The guys were all pretty great up until this point. However, one of them, we'll call him Mike, began to make a few awkward comments to me. Mike decided to play a bard and took my I don't care if you hook up with the NPCs very seriously. He tried to screw every single female. It got to the point where I had to speak with him out of game. He got very passive aggressive by telling me I had already said it was okay. Despite this, he did calm down a bit and we continued playing. A few sessions later, Mike tries to struggle snuggle a female orc while she is restrained and unconscious as the party were elsewhere. Oh my god, seriously, these posts are the most unhinged, even in long form content. Dude, Mike just doubled down. What the fuck, Mike? I'm not even sure what his motive here, but he tried to make his explanation of his actions vague enough. They weren't specifically struggle snuggle, but obviously were anyway. I stopped the game immediately and told him if he didn't quit it, he was out for the rest of the session. He laughed with his buddies and then stopped. How do you vaguely explain what happened? Oh, I'm sorry, DM. I slipped and fell and my pants fell down and my willy went inside of the orc lady's orifice. I'm sorry, DM. I didn't mean to do that. How do you just vaguely explain that you put penis in butt? Let's continue going with this because it's gonna be a long video. Later that night, he sent me a hand-drawn picture of an orc clearly modeled after myself, with his character grabbing her boobs. What? I told him that crap was inappropriate and he wasn't welcome at the next session. The next day he called me in tears, saying he was really sorry, had drank way too much the night before. He also admitted he had a crush on me, but didn't know how to convey that. Ah, right, so you convey that by having your D&D character bang the orc lady, the NPC, fantasizing about you being your DM, and then afterwards you send a picture of a crude drawing of your character grabbing the titty of the orc that your character struggle snuggled, depicted as your DM. That's a genius way to do it, Mike. You're a genius. You are just Picasso. I politely told him I was flattered but not interested and let him back into the party. The rest of the party had been trying to convince me to let him back into the game because he hadn't done them much wrong anyway. Of course his boys are gonna cover for them. Are they gonna do something messed up too? Yes, I'm an idiot. Apart from that event, I'd been having fun with that campaign. Mike is no longer a douchebag at the session. He's quiet, and one of the guys tells me that I embarrassed him and now he's struggling to connect. Not my problem. Fast forward a few more weeks and things are getting weird again. 2 more members of the party have attempted asking me out on dates. I once again politely decline and carry on. Sessions are now a little awkward for me because of all the guys are flirting with pretty much every female NPC I play in-game. Slowly but surely, within a week, another guy confesses his love to me. I am no longer enjoying the session, so I plan on finishing up the story branch and then calling it a day with the campaign and leaving. Not even a day later, Jack sends me about 20 screenshots from a private group chat of the boys. They literally had bets on who could sleep with me first. The entire group chat was discussing ways they could flirt or seduce me. We used screenshots of my own conversation between them, etc. It was so awful to look at, because I thought these guys had actually been enjoying my sessions, but I was basically just there as a game myself. Jack told me he was incredibly sorry he hadn't said anything sooner, that he was about to pull out of the campaign because of them. I told the party over Discord that I knew what was going on and that I was disgusted. I would not DM for them again. I think I added in that none of them were even close to being physically attractive to me and I left. Been a while since that happened, but I still haven't heard from any of the guys again. Well, at least you escaped that DBB, the Desperate Bro Brigade. Good lord. Anyway, let's keep going with the chaos energy. I'm glad you left. I mean, this post is like from 4 years ago, so clearly the people that were in bad situation probably out. But I mean, hey, kudos on you for dipping out when you have a chance. Was going to run Curse of Strahd, but apparently I'm a bad DM for not letting a player be the son of Strahd. Second off, how does it make any better if he's the son of any other god in the world? Third off, that single fact doesn't make him any more important than any other character concept. D&D is about us being able to live our fantasies. Everyone's character concept, no matter how wacky or dramatic, is valid, as long as it doesn't break the rules of the game, which I am not. Okay, let's pump the brakes here. Everybody is involved in D&D, and everyone's fantasy that they're trying to create is important, including the DMs. And if the DM says, you could do whatever you want except be the son of Strahd, I think it matters because the DM already has a plan for this world created. You have very limited barriers of freedom, very limited. You just have a few don'ts and plenty of do's. You could choose any of the do's, but you really want to be son of Strahd for whatever reason. Your position is not to dictate to us what our characters can and can't be. It's to facilitate a fun game and a coherent narrative for what we bring to the table. DMs are not fun dispensing machines. DMs are another player at the table, and if the DM says you could do all of this but just no few don'ts, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe because there's a plan for this whole thing, man. Nothing about my character inherently prevents anyone from having fun or breaks the narrative, as long as I play the rules and prioritize the others over myself, which I plan to do. You never even DM for us, so what's harming giving me a chance? Because sometimes you could just feel when a problem player's gotta be a problem. But let's see what the DM says for this post. Okay, DMs have to say no sometimes. This is one of the things I'm saying no to. I will not be talked to in a condescending manner over this right before it begins. Therefore, the one shot is postponed, and you can find someone else to run Curse of Strahd. Good luck finding someone that lets you be the son of Strahd, though. Damn, DM saw the red flags, just pieced it. Good. Let's get to the next one. Nobody ever replied. So, do we pick a day for our next game or not? Oh no, that is so sad. Nobody replied, dude. Why can't somebody just be like, yeah, no, not really, but maybe we could pick one? Come on. Suffice it to say, I would never even have a first session with this group after receiving this as a message from one of my players. Fun is not the point. Fun is not the point. Fun is not the point in a TTRPG. Not sure if this fits, but me talking to a player that couldn't make it to a session. DM is a good friend. Okay, I'm going to go over something that happened last game, and you tell me if this is fair. We're in a stone hallway in a dungeon. I have a stick. I swing the stick in front of me to trigger any wire traps and pressure plates. DM says there is none. I step forward. Immediately trigger a foot lever wire that shot me with an arrow. His defense? Well, you checked the squares, you didn't check the lines between the squares in front of you. Some DMs just want to play that gotcha game and they want to be able to catch you off guard no matter what. And if they want you to step on a trap, they'll force you to step on a trap in some way. Some of the replies are fantastic, by the way. I want to go through them. You haven't mentioned breathing for the last 5 minutes, so you're gonna have to make a constitution saving throw to avoid suffocation. You have disadvantage on attack rolls due to your dry eyes. Should have blinked more. You have disadvantage on this attack roll as you're currently blinking. You have to skip your turn because you're busy catching your breath after not breathing. Ha! You didn't specify that you want to use your lungs to breathe, so that roll was to breathe with gills that you don't have. You die. Please roll just to see if you're having a heart attack. I am dead. I am dead. Okay, let's move on to the next one. DMs like this are why people quit playing TTRPGs. My player used the wish spell. The GM had a great latitude in ruling what occurs in such an instance. The greater the wish, the greater the likelihood that something goes wrong. Please help me figure out what goes wrong. So wait, the DM is just asking people like on Reddit to figure out what's going on, what's gonna happen? So my players had a really tough fight this week. One of the PCs is dead. The other PCs are probably about to die. There's little hope. One of the PCs have been hanging on to a wish spell for over a year real time. Campaigns have been going on for 2 years. They are in a dungeon of a mad mage. The wish was, I wish for my whole party, including dead PCs, to be transported to Skullport. Some ideas I've had so far. Party gets teleported back, no gear, no money, no clothes. Dead body next to them when they instantly arrive back in town. The cleric is high enough to revivify, but she won't have the components if they end up in town with no gear. That sounds malicious as hell. I mean, yeah, I get it, like the wish is supposed to be kind of like the monkey's paw and stuff, but like, to decide in this kind of state, like clearly they just want to get out into safety. Why are you punishing them? Alternatively, the party gets transported back along with creature they're currently fighting. Maybe they show up back in the middle of Xanathar's office and the dead body drops right there in the middle. A bar would work too. I'd probably let them keep their gear in that case. They're just gonna continue the fight. They didn't say teleport the monster as well and do different place entirely. Like, the whole point is they just want to get out. I have a week to come up with this too, so I thought I would seek some help. Maybe even mash some ideas together. What do you folks think would be a good way to have something go wrong? I get the whole monkey's paw thing with the wish and stuff, but DMs that find ways to screw the party over in one way or the other, they're the malicious ones. It's the DM versus player mentality. It's the kind of game that ruins games and ruins fun experiences. Why not find a different way for them to suffer the consequences of a wish spell that doesn't screw them over entirely? Oh my god, the best reply is right there at the top. Out of the 800 comments I saw on this thread on Facebook, I think one was not to the gist of, wow, your players should just wish for a new DM. Yeah, I like that response. That's a great response. Can I do that as part of the wish spell? Wish for a new DM? I would. My friend's character sheet, which I stole. Character name, Zatan. Character level 15, race, minor god, alignment, chaotic. Of course it is. Of course it's chaotic. Strength 38, dexterity 49, constitution 19. How's that a +1? Intelligence 40, wisdom 36. Wait, how's that a +1? But then intelligence +6, charisma 44, +9. What is these? What are these stats? What the hell is this? Current hit points 1200. Oh my god. Rapier 5d12 piercing. Trident 2d20 piercing. Right, gotcha. What the hell? All decks will be 22 for 3 rounds? What? Why? This is overblown and overbloated. But it's not the first character sheet that we have. Let's get to the next one. From a D&D Facebook group I'm in, posted by a DM complaining about a problem player, Q's spit take when we all look at the player's sheet. The DM is now getting dragged for allowing it to even get this bad. And I thought I dealt with problem players. This is next level. Ranger level 8, Outlander, Bounty Hunter, Aragon Human, like Lord of the Rings, do you mean like Aragorn? Strength 28, dexterity 20, constitution 26, intelligence 17, wisdom 16, charisma 20. Why did they just make it a 20 anyway? Why not make everything a 20 at this point? Speed is 40 or fly of 80? Oh, because it says dragon human. It's not Aragon human, it's dragon human. Hit point maximum 335 plus 90, 425. What is that? 425 health at level 8? 400 something health? What? This thing has legendary resistance 3 a day. A player character has legendary resistance of 3 a day. How was this even allowed? How did the DM not catch on to this sooner? I mean, I'm glad they posted it because this is silly as hell. This is absurd. Of course he is. I am Kandrax, a wizard from the Shadowlands. I am Zonan, a blue-blooded barbarian. And I am Leona, an elf princess who loves cock. Sure, Leona, sure. Google reviews sure something else. Tonight I came to Adventure Game expecting to play D&D. It was my 3rd time joining a group of individuals I had come to like, and I always enjoyed our sessions. I chose to leave shortly after arriving, however, as the owner decided to shout at us and act as a child in front of the whole establishment about a conversation we've had last week that he deemed inappropriate, making more than one patron feel quite uncomfortable. I am sure he was gauche and didn't care to hear outside of the story, even though some of the group had been playing there for years without incident, and now they're no longer welcome. That is the power of review that I hope this one stings, because neither I nor my friends will be frequently in your place business any longer. Oh wait, it gets good. There's a response to this. Response from the owner. You are correct. We did deem the conversation your D&D group had last week about beating up women and getting around to strip clubs no touch rule so that you could assault those women as inappropriate. We have a strict no tolerance policy about such matters, and both players who engaged in the conversation admitted they were in the wrong. Their actions were a clear violation of our store code of conduct and the rules set forth by Wizards of the Coast, so there was no need for us to hear anyone else's side of the story. I'm sorry that Blank's reaction made you uncomfortable. Maybe you can begin to understand how the 13-year-old girl and her father felt when they were put in such an uncomfortable situation that they got up and left during the middle of the session. We've continued to have problems with this group for several years, which I'm guessing they forgot to mention to you. However, those problems pale in comparison to the horrible things that were said by not only players in the group, but by the DM, who is supposed to be leading the group and being responsible for the session. Since we work very hard to make our space one where everyone, especially women, feels safe and welcome, we feel it is in everyone's best interest that you and your friends do not return to our store. Jesus Christ, dude, it's actually wild, absolutely wild. Right, well, we've covered a lot of the stories, but let's get into a proper story. And this one looks to be like a cringe nightmare, but I picked this one out specifically because of the title and the text. It's quite long, but you know, it kind of fits the video, so let's get to it. Player attempts to seduce DM both in character and out of character, causes complete collapse of gaming group and even an IRL breakup. Well guys, this is the only real horror story I have, and unfortunately it is one completely suited to Valentine's Day, although in an utterly twisted manner, very not safe for work. The whole situation was bizarre, unexpected, and came completely out of nowhere, in a rapid and complete fiery implosion of the group that rivaled the Hindenburg in terms of suddenness and sheer scale of catastrophic collapse. So sit back, dear reader, and indulge this tale of deceit, coercion, questionable sexual appetites, breakups, and of course cringe. Lots and lots of cringe. Man, I am hungry for some cringe. Let's dive into this. The cast consists of, names change, me, the DM, Dave, my roommate, playing a half-orc fighter, was not present for the session in question, relevant later, Annie, Dave's girlfriend, playing a halfling cleric, Rich, a friend of mine and Dave's, playing a zany gnome sorcerer, Trish, the problem player, playing a foxfolk, risking tabaxi bard, because of course she bloody was. She could also never quite decide whether this person was more cat or more fox or both. It was weird. So we cast our minds back to the days of yore, 2013. It was at a university and we were playing 3.5 D&D. For context, I'm not really the typical nerd art type. I'm fairly tall, fairly muscular, and my biggest interest outside of TTRPGs, science, math, nerdy movies, and video games is playing rugby. and I was on the university team. I am, or was, being an adult sucks, something of a socialite. I like to host parties, I love being the center of attention, I love singing. In short, my highest IRL stat is charisma. My lowest apparently is wisdom. Yes, I'm a dude bro. Yes, the exact stereotype you're currently thinking of. That one. It's me. Hey, anybody can be a DM, anybody can be into D&D, whether you're a dude bro or whoever. Listen, D&D is fun as fuck, so go ahead and give it a try if you want to. After one such get-together at my place, which was inevitably always a strange mix of guys from rugby team and my course mates, I studied physics, and my flatmates, their mates, etc., myself, Dave, and Annie were talking. I suggested the idea of running a D&D game, and they were both into it. Neither of them had played before, but Dave informed me that our mutual friend Rich played, which I didn't know, and Annie said she had a friend that would be super excited to join because she was obsessed with TTRPGs. Enter Trish. Trish was the only person who attended that I didn't know, which naturally made her something of a wild card, but being the sociable person I was, that didn't bother me at all, and when I first met her, all seemed fine. She was lively and excitable. Her and Annie both did practical effect design, and she was artsy and enthusiastic with a real twinkle in her eye, which I would realize all too late wasn't a twinkle, but a barely perceptible electrical feedback which indicated the short-circuiting of the sanity wires in her brain. I thought she would be a joy to have at the table rolling dice with us. If I'd known the depths of the anime love interest complex she apparently had, I might have realized that the rattling noise wasn't her dice tower, but loose marbles rattling around her skull. So anyway, from the very first session, the group was great and everyone's characters were fun, if a little tropey. This is why I didn't bat an eye at Trish playing up that bard and hitting on every NPC. We all had a good laugh about it, and I responded with NPCs flirting, or not flirting in the exact same manner as the would with Dave's character, who often tried his luck, to all of our amusement, which his -1 to charisma checks. Thus, I thought it was all in good fun, and so did everyone else. Because nobody could be insane enough to think that imaginary characters interacting automatically means DM wants to bone them, right? DM, how wrong you are. There's so many people that I know that watch VTubers and anime waifus, and man, the obsession gets really bad there. Just because of one single interaction, people just get hooked and they think, oh, my wife, even though the person doesn't even know them whatsoever at all. Anyway, getting ahead of myself a little there were some red flags. Minor ones by the standards of the subreddit, to be sure. These included highlights such as Trish being a little obsessive about anime and talking about her perfect man being an exact description of some protagonist from a particular anime, the name of which I don't remember, and the way in which she described her tabaxi complete with big innocent doe eyes and playful curves and swaying hips. She also showed up wearing fox ears at one point. Thought she was just really getting into the game and playing her character, which, in a really disturbing sort of way, was right on the money. She also had a weird habit of maintaining eye contact with me for uncomfortably long periods of time, but I, with my IRL dumbstat and wisdom, didn't put it together that she might have a crush on me, in case where the story is leading wasn't horrifyingly obvious. Yeah, learning how to find out about people being red flags and stuff is an important skill, even if your dumbstat IRL is wisdom. Probably need to be noticeable of specific behaviors that probably should be dealt with at the end of the day. I was enjoying the group and the immersion. Everyone spent a lot of time talking in character and really getting into it, including Dave and Annie, who just been a little hesitant about RP at first. Trish spent almost no time whatsoever talking out of character. Another mild red flag that I overlooked entirely, but one that stands out from the rest of this little retrospective. And so, dear reader, begins the fateful night. Note that Dave, my roommate, was not present for this session, but the night is dark and full of fox-ear discomfort. It was an RP-heavy session. The previous had been a sizable combat session with one of the villains, and a small side story arc had been completed. So there was a lot of looting, paying off debts and favors, collecting accolades, drinking in bars, being paraded around on the shoulders of the liberated village, all the normal tropes. This also concluded with the end of our second-year exam period, so we were in an IRL similar mood. Everyone was having a great time in a low-pressure session, drinking a decent amount of both IRL and in-game. Everyone was smiling and having fun. Trish's character decided that tonight was the night to try and get it on with the burly human bartender NPC she had been flirting with throughout the campaign, whenever they had been in this town. Again, I only picked this up in retrospect, but this was the NPC who most closely, although not even that freaking closely, resembled me in how I had described them, and she had singled this NPC out repeatedly. Anyway, in the revelry of the villain's defeat and the town celebration, she succeeded on her seduction role for this poor bartender. I made a joke about them going off to have very scratchy cat sex, for which he'll probably need his back bandaged, and attempt a fade to black. Gross, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. You playing it up, you being a good sport to it, you having fun. You could have never known. Well, I mean, you probably should have known, but your wisdom stat is pretty low. So, yeah, it's such an unfortunate set of events where Domino's just falling to pieces. DM is clueless, literally like an anime protagonist, like a dense anime protagonist. DM, are you sure you're not an anime protagonist? Because you sound like one of those dense anime protagonists that have everybody hit on them, but they have no idea what's going on whatsoever. Trish was having none of that. Obviously, she wanted to vicariously play out this encounter between these two abstractions in a display that would have made Sigmund Freud himself make the concerned Tom face. I don't understand the reference. She interjected, describing how her character waited for him to go and get her drinks before taking all of her clothes, changing into just one of his thin shirts, and waited on his bed in a seductive pose and began to purr. Okay, a little too much detail, and she had a creepy lascivious look in her eyes when she described it, but fine. She had a couple of drinks and is a bit too into it. I once again try with, and as he sees you, he shuts the door behind himself with a smile. Anyway, back in the bar, Klopperdunk is in the midst of this absurd, levitating tankard performance when Trish again interjects, pouting a little this time. She described how her character stares into his green eyes. My eyes are green, the NPC's was described as having blue eyes, and runs her clawed fingers through his brown hair. Again, you guessed it, matches description with me, not the NPC. She is now positively leering at me like I'm a cartoon steak. Rich catches onto this and looks uncomfortable as I feel. Annie is giggling. I assume this was just nervous laughter. Not so. I quite firmly cut the black this time, but Trish looks oddly satisfied and spends the rest of the session, which lasts less than half an hour, just staring at me and exchanging looks with Annie. At the end of the session, I'm sat with the three of them, finishing drinks before they all head home. Trish asks to use the bathroom and excuses herself. Annie then gets up and declares that she is going home, and asks if poor innocent bystander Rich will walk her across campus. They abruptly leave. I wait for Trish to come out of my room for 5 minutes. At this point, I'm like, if she's taking a dump in there, that's such an absolute piss take. Just wait until you get home? So I walk into the room, preparing to knock on the bathroom door. And what do I freaking see? I see Trish. And what, dear reader, do you expect that she's wearing? Oh, she's wearing like a shirt like she did in the game. Uh-oh. Yep, that's right. There's a pile of her clothes and underwear at the foot of the bed. And her sole item of clothing are one of my shirts and her fox ears. Lying in what she apparently thought was a seductive pose was supposed to look like. If the only time you had heard the word seduction was in Japanese and the sentence ended with senpai. Ah, she's a fellow weeb. Gross. Not that she's a weeb, but the fact that she's trying to pull some weird seductive nonsense and clearly is unwelcomed. And as if this scene wasn't absurd or insane enough, she also freaking purrs at me before giving me this look, which basically amounted to her stuffing as much of her bottom lip under her teeth as is reasonably possible in what appeared to be an attempt to devour her own chin, and blinking rapidly like she was trying to convey something in Morse code. Now, Trish is not an unattractive woman by any means, even in the midst of a mating ritual considerably more bizarre than anything I've heard Sir David Attenborough narrate, but I'm absolutely not into her whatsoever. I do not see her in that way, and honestly I find her a bit weird. Shocking, I know. This should be a good enough reason on its own. But what takes us from just uncomfortable to awkward to shockingly inappropriate is that at this time, I had a girlfriend, which she and everyone else at the table knew. It's just really weird to me to like go after somebody that's already in a relationship with somebody, like just like that, especially what she's doing. That's extremely inappropriate. At this point, I'm standing in the doorway, probably looking like I've seen a ghost, and my brain had turned to mush trying to decipher the incomprehensible spectacle unfold before my eyes. She then stops deep-throating her chin and says, "If you want your shirt back, you have to take it from me." I'm now legitimately pissed off with her for this level of inappropriate behavior. I tell her as calmly as possible that she can keep the t-shirt, but she needs to leave. She scowls at me, and I truly wish I was joking, hisses at me like a cat. Despite how deeply uncomfortable and annoyed I am, it is an act of such sheer abject absurdity that I cannot help but burst out laughing. She immediately loses her crap, grabs her clothes in a bundle and runs outside my flat in just my t-shirt, not stop at you and put on underwear, screaming at me the whole way. Apparently either Annie or Rich had forgotten something, so they're about 100 meters away, walking back towards the flats. They, and everyone else, see the 2/3 naked catfox woman throwing a hyper tantrum over getting rejected, creating an utter spectacle on the quad, which is overlooked by several blocks of halls, not to mention other students who just happen to be outside. I would have been mortified if I wasn't too busy being somewhere between utter speechless disbelief and repressing uncontrolled mirth. Annie runs over and throws her coat over now hysterically crying Trish, and then starts berating me herself, calling me selfish and ungrateful, and telling me how Trish is better for me than my then girlfriend. This is another thing you don't do, especially, what the fuck, Annie? Why are you pulling this nonsense? You don't say that, oh, you are ungrateful and selfish because you decided not to sleep with somebody, because you decided to make sure you don't want to, not break boundaries and stay committal to the one person you're with, and tell somebody that she would be so much better than your current girlfriend. And this is not the appropriate moment to say that, girl. Just letting you know. I'm in utter shock and disbelief at this point. This is totally out of character for Annie. Not knowing what to do in the midst of this bizarre and mutually humiliating meltdown, I just give an apologetic wave and grimace to Rich, go inside and close the door. I call Dave and fill him in whatever the hell just happened. He is as baffled, shocked, and angry as I am, especially after I describe Annie's reaction. He calls her and demands to know what the hell is going on. As it turns out, Trish and Annie had concocted the events of the evening together. Annie had informed Trish that Dave would not be present, making it a good night to make her move, and Trish had apparently described the rest of their cringe-inducing misguided plan. This is also why Annie was giggling at Trish's in-character shenanigans early in the night, and why she had so abruptly convinced Rich to leave with her when Trish had asked to use my bathroom. This, it seems, was the signal. Annie is part of the problem greatly because she's helping a crazed lunatic with this and then defending the crazed lunatic for doing some lunacy. Why, Annie? Why'd you have to do that? Why'd you have to be the bad guy in the situation? Dave called me almost 2 hours later, which was almost 4 a.m. at that point, and said he had a huge argument and shout match with Annie over the phone and that they had broken up. I received a text from Rich the next day saying he didn't want to play with us anymore because he couldn't handle the drama. Although I explained to him that Trish would absolutely not be there again, I couldn't really begrudge his decision to leave, with such a sour taste in his mouth. I blocked Trish's number almost immediately after she left, and the only correspondence I had with Annie was a text from her that just read before I blocked her too. Dave and I never played D&D together again, though we're still friends to this day. So that's it, Reddit. That's my one and only horror story, and most of it had absolutely nothing to do with the actual game. Sometimes the creepy, predatory weirdos isn't a basement-dwelling neckbeard, but a pretty girl of half your size, with more screws loose than a piece of IKEA furniture your grandma tried to put together, or apparently thinks acting like an anime catfox woman is the height of seduction. Now, I will say something that might be a bit polarizing to the story. If it's a virtual Catgirl, not a real person trying to play a Catgirl or something, like maybe somebody from VR chat or something, have like a Catgirl avatar, that I can be into. Sure, that can be attractive. But if somebody decides to do all this and then be a complete degenerate about it, like Trish is, then no, ew. Like, listen, be the inner Catgirl that you want to be. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want to do, but don't be a creep. And Trish right now is being a complete and utter creep in the story. Oh my god, okay, hold on. I thought the last story was going to be last, but no, I want this story to be last because it reads like something I will never believe. Reading out the title is going to be extremely strange, so bear with me. A player just screeched and quit the session because I won't let her be gangbanged by imps and impregnated. Y'all are used to forced sexuality by male DMs onto female PCs? Well, get ready for a female PC trying to force the female DM to sexually assault her character. Jesus Christ, this is a nightmare. So this person and I have known each other long. This was in our third session as a group. In the first one, her character was mildly grating because it was obviously anime girl self-insert. But she wasn't really disruptive, so I didn't really care. She got annoying when she tried to convince the party not to kill their foes, but they ignored her and killed them anyway, causing her to screech and wail. But pacifist characters aren't anything new, so we move on. Second session, I'm really sick, like I might go to the hospital sick, so I call in my friend, tell her the plot and setup, give her my notes and tools, and she DMs. Everything apparently goes fine, but when I come back, the rest of the party is level 2, and our problem player is level 6, sporting 50 gold. What? Oh my god, there was substitute teacher DM. Substitute teacher is in, real teacher is not in. Let's do whatever we want. Level 6, 50 gold. What? Between sessions 1 and 2, she made up some BS story about coming across a treasure chest of gold and an artifact that made her strong each time she lost, and told the other DM in the group that I'd okayed it. I did not. I never spoke to her about this even for a second. So we get into an argument when I tell her to roll a character back to level 2 and lose all her gold. The rest of the party had collectively 2 gold. Try to blame me for not being there. Eventually, when I told her she was kicked out, she apologized. It was fake, but whatever. And I told her that it was her last straw, and that she caused an issue again, she'd be barred from returning. Why you players only have 2 gold? Unless it's like a really... Maybe it's like old editions of D&D or something, like allowed only limited amount of gold or something, I don't know. But it's 2 gold? Like 2 gold for level 2, it sounds kind of little, but I'm thinking of D&D 5e terms. So maybe it's a different edition, I don't know. Let's keep going. Session 3 happened, and we came across a fortress that needed to search, and they split up. When she came across imps, she intentionally threw combat and said that her clothes fell off and she was defeated, and that the imps would probably screw and impregnate her. I'm sorry, what? That's my reaction. What? I immediately told her no. That was ridiculous, and that I'm not going to let her character get pregnant, especially from some random monsters. She tried to fight me on it, saying it was her character and part of her plot for her, and that she could give birth instantly, so she didn't have to fight while pregnant. And I just kept telling her absolutely not, that the imps would probably just try to steal her valuables and leave. What is this story? God, my brain. Why is she doing that? Did she watch, like, you know probably what happened? I'm assuming she watched Goblin Slayer. I was like, oh, imps, they're kind of like goblins. Yeah, I want to be Goblin Slayer. Don't look up Goblin Slayer, by the way. If you know, you know. But if you don't know, I can't choose my emotes. Stay away. She would not take no for an answer and kept screaming at me until I told her she wasn't allowed back. Then she said she'd go make her own session. In that case, fine, have fun. Bet you get all the free gold, levels, and income you desire in your fantasy land. I just never want to see you here again. Imp come. I'm done. The video's over here. Oh my god. My lungs. I've laughed too much. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, consider hitting subscribe. If you want to leave any feedback, comments, and if you want to leave a like, you're more than welcome to. That helps me a lot. Lets me know what kind of stuff you like. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.